Welcome. Hi, Rhonda. How are you? I never get on Instagram Live. But I decided I wanted to get on tonight since my baby girl is sleeping. So I have like maybe like a good 45 minutes until she wakes up. But anyway, I wanted to get on here because I wanted to talk about busyness versus productivity really quick. So I had some time thank Hi, Natasha. I had some time tonight to really she's on some melanin. Thank you, Rhonda. I appreciate that. I had some time tonight to do some studying. And so I'm on spring break, so I don't have tons of schoolwork. So I dedicated a lot of my study time to the Lord, and he was just blowing on my study time, y'all. So anyway, I want to talk about tonight busyness versus productivity. And we're going to hit off of Luke chapter 10. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. I think you may be, Natasha and Rhonda. You guys grew up in the church, so you guys should be familiar with this story. But it's about when Jesus enters Mary and Martha's house, the two sisters. Yeah, so we're going to hit on that tonight. And so it says in let's do 38, verse 38. It says, I'm going to read it from the Message Bible because I like the Message Bible. But I'm also going to quote some King James Version tonight too. All right, guys. But anyway, so Jesus enters into Mary and Martha's house. Okay. So verse 38 says, as they continued their travel, Jesus entered a village. A woman by the name of Martha welcomed him and made him feel quite at home. She had a sister named Mary who sat before the master, hanging on to every word he said. Okay, so at this time, Jesus enters in, right? He got his whole crew, the disciples are with him. And Jesus is entering into this home of this woman named Martha. And Martha has a sister that is, I'll say, she got some wisdom on her. She has some wisdom on her. Okay, so Martha's in the kitchen. She's preparing because she has a group of guests in her home. And so she's in the kitchen trying to get it together, right? I'm a mama of four. I know what it's like when we have company over and the kids are running around, but yet you're trying to meet the need of the guests, right? And so at this point, the verse says that, let's go to, where it says Mary who sat before the master, hanging on to every word. Okay, the King James Version, I want to share that with you guys, it says that, give me 1 second. Let's do verse 30. Let's do verse 39. Let's do verse 38. It says, and behold, a man of a company cried out. Hold on 1 second. Sorry, guys. All right, let's do verse 39. But it says, but Martha was pulled away by all that she had to do in the kitchen. It said, later on, she stepped in, interrupting them, saying, this is Martha in the kitchen, saying, Master, do you care that my sister has abandoned the kitchen to me? Tell her to lend me a hand. Okay, so the point is that Martha is in the kitchen. She is preparing for her guests. She's cooking up a meal, right? But she's also operating the spirit of busyness, right? Busyness is mobility without any focus, okay? You're moving, but you have no focus. You're moving, but you have no plans, anything. You're just kind of going, right? And so busyness was basically taking over Martha's agenda for the night. She's like, listen, we got to prepare this meal. I got to make sure that you guys are fed, that you're welcome, that you're doing all this. She was doing all of these things in her own strength, right? Her own ability. But yet Mary, right? Her sister, she's sitting at the feet of Jesus, right? So this is symbolic of a student sitting at the feet of a teacher, meaning she's hanging on to every one of Jesus's words. Mary is literally like, mouth open, probably drooling a little bit, and marveled at what the words are coming out of Jesus's mouth, right? So we know Jesus is God, right? He's God manifested in the flesh. And so he's also, in some other scriptures and other verses and other chapters, especially in Matthew, you hear a lot about Jesus being rabbi. Okay. Rabbi is a translation of another word. as teacher. Okay. So Mary is literally sitting at Jesus's feet, right? So she understands the better part, right? So verse 41, Jesus says to Martha, 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 dear Martha, you're fussing far too much. This is the Message Bible, and getting yourself worked up over nothing. One thing is essential, and Mary has chosen that one thing. So even though Mary was not mobilizing, right? She was not being busy in the kitchen helping her sister, right? She understood, hey, listen, I need to be sitting at the feet of Jesus. I need to be understanding what I need to do next, because what he's saying has my attention. It has my focus, right? So Martha, being in the kitchen, because she was relying on her own strength, her own ability, that means that she had to rely now on the ability of others and not of Christ, right? So anytime that you're doing things out of your own strength and you're not doing it out of the strength of the Father, you're always going to rely on what others can do for you, what others can benefit, right? Instead of actually having your attention and your focus on Jesus. So it was a few notes that I wrote down from this where, because she was operating her own strength, she could not heed to the instructions that Jesus was giving, right? Jesus was in there and he was giving instructions. I'm sure he was. If Jesus opened up his mouth, he is declaring, he is laying foundation, he is laying it down, right? So, but Martha was missing out on instruction because she was so busy in the kitchen. Like, woman of God, have a seat. And so, this live tonight is really about, you have so many plans, you have so many goals, but until you submit those goals and those plans to the Father, to Jesus, they really do not matter, right? They don't matter. So Mary, I'll say this, is that Martha was in the kitchen cooking, right? Preparing a feast, right? But Mary was literally feasting off of the words of Christ. She was literally eating, right? So Martha's so concerned about meeting the needs of the flesh, meeting the needs of, the stomachs of everyone in her household by preparing a meal and making everyone comfortable in the natural, right? The natural aspect, right? Their appetite. But yet this was Mary's thing was, I'm not so concerned with the natural part of things. Like, this man is feeding my soul. He's feeding my spirit. And that is the better part. The better part is not so much of the things that we can see, right, with our five senses, our taste, our smell, the things we touch, the things we hear, right? But it was more so of, this man has the word of life in his mouth, and this is what I need. This is what I need to be doing. So Martha has some kind of like master, like Jesus, like, so you not going to tell my sister to come help me, right? The ministry of helps. You're not going to have her come and help me in the kitchen. But Jesus had to remind Martha that this was not important at the time. Yes, guess what? It is needed, right? You do need food. You do need all those things. Those things are needed, right? But it's not important. It's not important. There's a scripture that talks about how, everything, you can do everything, but is it really necessary, right? Everything is lawful, but not everything is expedient, right? Is it necessary? Is it really needful at this time, right? And so Mary, her sitting at the feet of Jesus, I'm sure she was getting more mobility in her spirit to do a thing than Martha was in the kitchen. And what I mean by that is, when you get instructions, right? Because busyness is mobility without focus, right? Productivity is mobility with focus. Okay. And so when you are productive, you have sat under training, you have sat under, instructions, you have enough in your hand to do the thing that you're supposed to do, right? To do the thing that was instructed for you to do. So she was getting guidelines. Okay. Mary was sitting there getting a whole, GPS written out, right? Like, for her life, right? For her life. So she was doing more in her sitting than Mary was doing in the kitchen with her hands. There is more that God wants to do in your life, where you need to sit and be submitted and hear from hear from him, instructions from him that can do more for you than with your own hand. And so in this aspect also too, her sitting at the feet of Jesus was not only just her being a student and him a teacher, but it was also a form of worship where she was focused. She was focused and she was gazing upon an adoration above her own, perspective, right? Anytime you are sitting under someone, whether it's teaching, mentorship, whatever, they're literally dispensing out or pouring out years, right? It's actually a warfare move. Mentorship, leadership, instructions, teaching is actually a warfare move. Why? Because they have gained so much knowledge. They have gained so much information over a long span of time that they're giving this to you in such a short span. So when you are sitting and listening, you are actually adding more years or more moments to your life, right? Because of this. It's like people who did not know how to sew or whatever, right? They went to school for fashion design, all of that, right? And so they went through years of schooling for that. So when they step out to, it's so crazy I'm talking about mentorship because my friend Natasha's on here. She has a mentorship program for business. Awesome, right? Anytime you are under a mentorship or a leader, right? They are giving you so much of what they've learned in a short span. And that's giving you, how can I say, it's a warfare move because you don't have to go through the things that they've went through to get it. You're getting it because your focus is on them and they're giving that to you in a moment. It's like what they learn in a lifetime, you are getting in a moment. So Mary was absolutely adding more instructions, more mobility to her spirit through God's words, through Jesus's words, because he was giving stuff to her because he knew I'm not going to be with you guys always, right? So it's better that I speak a thing to you because I know that my words can do way more than what my actions can do, right? To have you get up and go do something. God's like, I'm going to instruct you so that I know that my word's going to take root into your heart, right? So Mary understood not only what Jesus was doing for her as a teacher, right? And her student, but she was also learning a form of worship, right? Worship is the entryway to prayer. Because at this point, it was like, man, I'm getting so much of a download at this moment that I don't even want to move from here. And Jesus said that she was learning this was the better part. This was the better part. Anytime you are just doing things just to do it, and you're not doing it because you've been instructed to, it becomes dangerous because you're wasting time. Number one. And then also you are, it's like you're wasting time and then you're wasting resources too, right? That time that Martha was wasting in the kitchen, she could have been spending with Jesus. Like he could have, like, your focus is off, woman of God. Like, do you know who's in your living room right now? Have a seat, relax, commune with the Lord. It was like, man, like her focus on what her hand can do, right? She was so concerned about the fruit of her hand that it was like, I'm not even concerned about the fruit of the fruit that could be produced off of the words Jesus was saying in the living room, right? So this live, I don't want to be long or anything like that, but this live, thank you, Natasha, girl. I'm trying to look at the comments. You know, I'm half blind, but, but this live was really to bring perspective over busyness and productivity, right? Busyness is mobility without focus, without instruction, right? And depending upon your own hand to do more than what God can do for you, right? Then productivity is mobility with instructions, with insight, you've been preparing, right? You've been preparing to do this thing. Okay, guys. So I'm just going to shut it down. I know it was quick. It was easy, but I think my daughter got up and the other ones are ripping and running somewhere. But thanks so much for tuning into my live. I really appreciate this, guys. I'm going to start doing this often because I feel like this, I don't really do like live videos and stuff like that, but, check out my YouTube channel. I just started a YouTube channel today. Check it out. I'm going to be dropping some nuggets and some insights on my YouTube channel too. It won't just be about wisdom and knowledge and stuff like that. I may have some beauty tips on there, whatever I'm feeling like that day. But anyway, hit me up, guys. If you have any questions, drop it in my inbox. Share the video. I may do Facebook Live. I'm not sure. I like Instagram a little bit better though. Sorry. But yeah, thanks so much, guys, for tuning in.